Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun.
And I'm Anulu Akwoidu. Thanks for joining us as we bring you the key stories shaping the day and the conversations that matter.
At Daybreak Gist this morning, the presidency says President Bola Tinubu's state visit to Turkey is firmly on course, dismissing speculations and reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to strengthening diplomatic, economic and security ties with the country. Officials say the visit aligns with the administration's broader foreign policy drive to attract investment and deepen international partnerships.
We'll also bring you a quick weather update, after which is newspaper headlines and analysis with Ignatius Ebuselime Ofino as we examine the major stories dominating the front pages and what they reveal about Nigeria's political, economic and security landscape.
And our big story takes a critical look at Nigeria's military and politics. How does the past inform the present? From decades of military rule to today's democratic experiment, we ask how history continues to shape governance, power structures and civil-military relations.
We'll be joined by Amuda Mosi Bodi, a researcher and public affairs analyst, to unpack the lessons, the legacies and the implications for Nigeria's political future.
Plus, on Trend Watch, we spotlight issues gaining traction and shaping public debate.
And this is Daybreak Live. Stay with us and let's get started this morning.
Definitely.
Good morning to you.
Yeah.
Good
morning, Anu.
How are you today?
I'm very well. Okay, so something happened yesterday. There was a video that is circulating online, and because of that, some Nigerians are worried and they're asking questions. Are we sure the president is okay? Is he well? I think that forced the presidency to release a statement to say that, oh, the president is okay, and he only stepped on an object. According to the spokesperson of the president, I'm talking about Bayo Nonuga, he came out to say that, oh, the president only stepped on a metal object, and of course, people should not read, meanings to that. Anyone can sleep, and then I think that's very correct. Anyone can sleep. Even models sometimes on the stage, they sleep, maybe when they miss their step or they are not so focused on where they are going to. So it can happen to anyone, old, young, it doesn't really matter. But because this is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, of course, the world is worried, not just Nigerians now. They're worried to say that, okay, is he actually okay? But then one thing I really do not understand is the fact that a certain individual, I'm speaking about Lege Miami, posted a video yesterday, and then he said the video is AI generated. That the president did not sleep, and I'm wondering, really, you're not part of the government, you're not an ambassador, you're not a minister, you're not a special aide or something like that. So why should you release a video to say the video was AI generated? These are the issues. This constant dismissal of what later becomes the truth, is becoming very sickening. As a matter of fact, I don't think only politicians do that. Sometimes celebrities, well-meaning Nigerians, prominent figures in the society, feel the need to say that, okay, this video is AI, I'm not the person. Recently, another case is the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, the late Ajimobi. There was something that happened and a video was also circulating online. And then recently we got to hear that, the video is AI generated, while some persons are saying, no, this video is real. So these are the issues. It's not a big deal if the president slept maybe he stepped on an object and then he missed his steps. It's not a problem. There's certain things that are called reflex action. For instance, now if you yawn too much in the space of 10 minutes, people might want to ask you, are you hungry? Do you want to sleep? Are you tired? Certain things must lead to that. So a lot of things must have happened. Maybe according to the presidency, he indeed stepped on a metal object and that was what happened. But then we need to be very careful as a nation, how we portray ourselves. Imagine if the presidency did not come and affirm this now, and then the likes of Leggy and other persons are saying, oh, it's AI generated. How do we portray ourselves in the outside world? Because I want to believe that there are certain individuals who were present at that event, who saw what really happened. I mean, imagine when they go online and they are seeing videos like that. It really does not make sense to me. And I want to believe that a lot of Nigerians will see it this way too, honestly.
I mean, you've said quite a number of things. I think one of the things I'm going to start with is to acknowledge the fact that anybody can sleep. We've seen artists, young artists, very, in their 20s, 30s, falling, and it's not a new thing. About Lege Miami saying that as well. Well, I don't know, but anything that can generate traffic for people online, they don't mind doing it, even if it's wrong or even if it's a lie. So that's one. But let me go straight to the issue of the president sleeping. Yes, when I saw the video, for one, I think if it was AI generated, the presidency would not release the statement to say the president is well. So he acknowledges the fact that yes, it happened in Turkey, and of course that was a thing. But just before he sleeps, right? I don't want to make a fuss about this, but this could just be a speculation around the president. The way he was walking, you can tell that. This is a work that is taking a lot of stress, but those are just speculations as best as we say. But we must high time we started thinking about the age of our president and our leaders. For one, to become a leader in this country, to lead Nigeria, to be the sailor of this country, it takes a lot on you, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically, every other way. It takes so much to become a president. It takes so much more to now, saddle that responsibility of presidency for 4 years, for 8 years, especially for someone who is of age, like maybe the president now. So if he was a young man, this might not have created so much fuss because he might just, after falling, after sleeping, just do a press up, just to show people I'm very, very fine, nothing doing me, that kind of thing. But no disrespect to his age. Age is a good thing, especially if it's used to better the country. It's so good to have leaders who are old, who are because they have experience. But sometimes I think one of the things we might want to say is that when we look back, we look at the experience, or we look for experience. But when we look ahead, we look for inspiration. And I know Africa as a country, a continent as well, has looked back for a lot of times. We are looking for people who has experience to saddle the presidency or leadership position in Africa, and this is a normal thing in the African setting now. But again, to say that we need inspirational leaders is another conversation, especially now that everybody is talking about not too young to rule, all of those bills that is passing across, not just Nigeria, some African countries as well. We know so many of African countries that have their presidents above 70, quite a number of them. Just a few just below 70. But if you talk about the age 70, at age 70, an average person is going to be physically weak. It's just so natural. Biology has told us that, yes, age is a thing of the mind, but much more so, the physiological implication of age can tell on the person. You can see the face of the president. It's not like the face of Seyi Tinubu. We can tell that the age has taken its toll on the president, which is okay, which is not bad. But we are saying that maybe it's a good time to now start thinking about people who wants to, steer the course of this administration or this country. Should also have what it takes in terms of the physiological, or maybe should we say the strength, as it were, to saddle, because it's not easy. Imagine I'm not sure how long the president will have to sleep every day. We've seen the president go for meetings, so many of the times he catches his breath inside the plane. When he is in the jets, that's when the only time he gets, because once he gets there, remember that procession when it was received ceremonially, he had to stand up for a long time because, of course, there was parade in Turkey for that and all of that. The president was there. And so it might be a lot to bear for any person that is above 70. And this is just a fact. You cannot argue with the fact of age telling on people. It's okay for age to do that. But can we also have a system of government that can accommodate young people, not because the president sleeps particularly, but because we know how much it takes to bear the rules, to bear the cost of the country, to bear the responsibility of a nation as big as Nigeria with over 200 million people. So it takes so much to even think about what something happened in Kaduna, another thing in Zamfara, and you're getting all of those thoughts into your head. That can crumble your mind. And that's just for one. That's just an example. So your president is having so many things on his table, and he has to deal with every one of them. So it's a lot to even imagine for a president. But I think my claim on this would just be, I think it's high time youth stood up to the task and say, let's do some more. Because I know we say it. I know sometimes we debate it, but it's time to move into action, to do much more than saying and walk the talk. Because at the end of the day, they keep calling us the leaders of tomorrow. But when are we supposed to be the leaders? Because tomorrow is so near, and sometimes we have even gotten into our tomorrow and we are still not leaders. It's still the same name, the same narrative, the same set of people that we've seen in 1990-something, 93, 94, 95, 2000, that we're still seeing again. When is it going to be the time for the youth to rise up? I think I spoke at one SADC council meeting recently, that society, South African Development Council, and a group of about 16 youth were there. Was a youth parliament, and I said one of the things we should start doing is start sitting at the table, not on the table. I know youth, we talk about a lot of things, but usually we are always on the table, and we are the ones they are discussing. If you sit on the table, you are not calling the shot. But if you sit at the table, you call the shots. And it's high time we started calling the shots, even from wherever position you find yourself, be it journalism, be it whatever field. It's high time we stood to the call and do what is right, especially as to leading the country. Learn all you can, get the experience, get all of the inspirational requirement as well, and because you have the energy. The Bible, I mean, I'll refer to the scriptures that say that the strength of the youth is in the power of the youth is in their strength, or something like that. So you can tell that an average young mind can have the tenacity, the energy, the strength, the virality as well to man some positions, not just because some people that are old will not do well, but because a young mind can also do something inspirational for the country. A young mind can also put something to the table and make it a better place. But for the president, I mean, maybe because we've seen, I mean, many insinuations will come from this, and this is why. Some, I think in the last visit of the president, some allege that it was on a medical tourism. It was on a medical visit to Europe at the time that he needed to do some check. But if people do checkups, everybody can do checkups. It's okay to do checkups. But if you do a frequent checkups, it tells more on your health. It speaks volume of your health, the condition of your health. And we cannot, I don't know how many times we want to disagree with the fact, but it's just so true that once you get to a particular threshold in age, it comes telling. It comes knocking, it comes begging. You can only do so much because at that point you are physically weak. The president would not be able to do 70 press-ups right now, and that's a fact. But that's not required for being a president. But I'm just saying, physically too, is demanding to become a president in this country, and I think that's my claim, that the youth should also stand up.
Yeah, I get you. And I would love to take it from the angle of the youths now. You mentioned that the youth should be ready to take up political positions in the country. But it's really sad that the Nigeria of today, we've never had, political apathy has never been this bad. You mentioned the youth, but then there are a lot of youth, thousands of youth without a voter's card. And those who have, on the day of election, they would rather go find somewhere to sit, play ball, do house chores, and then do other things aside from voting. So these are the issues. We need to begin to question the reasons why most of them are not interested. And then the little ones, or let me say the few ones that are interested, does the system make room for them to actually contest and win election, regardless of the bills that have been passed in the recent years? So these are the issues. So that going back to the fitness of the president now, according to Ononuga, he said, because a lot of Nigerians are asking, why is it that the president is always on the move? Recently, he came back from Abu Dhabi, and then he traveled to Turkey. If care is not taken in the next month now, he might still travel to another country. So these are the issues. I think that's one thing that I'm very concerned about. And he's not the first Nigerian president to do that. past presidents, they're always traveling to one country or the other, all in the name of, oh, we are trying to get people to invest in foreign countries to invest. Because according to him now, he mentioned quite a number of things while the president, is traveling. He's trying to, get some things in place for people. And I'm wondering, okay, these are actually very good. Areas of engagement include defense and security, trade and investment, energy, and broader economic development. See, there's a way you can develop your country, and then people will be willing to invest. You don't even need to travel and meet them. How many presidents of developed countries are always on the move, trying to get people to come and invest? It's because they have what it takes. I mean, they don't even need to travel to your country. You can just Google, you see what is going on in that country. So this is one thing that we need to focus on moving forward as a country. Yes, it is good to travel, but then it should not be every now and then. I mean, that might stress anybody. You don't even have to be 70 years or 80 years. If you're always on the move without resting properly, you discover that it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you begin to function below your capacity. That has been proven scientifically. So whether you're old or not, I think the president sometimes should really take rest. Yeah, we know that he's doing this in the interest of the country, talking to the France tomorrow. He needs to take rest. And I think that's a very convenient place to put it this morning. Just like the presidency said, he's well, and then we are happy about that fact. We do hope that he will take proper rest even after coming back from this particular trip. And then I think it's time to take the weather report this morning before we take a short break. Of course, we'd love to start. Please, can you start, with the weather report?
Let's start from your state. That's a good place to start, because it's the pace of that state, and let's see what the weather feels like, so we can plan the day in Oyo. Ibadan particularly, because the weather in southwest Oyo State feels like 25 degrees Celsius across board. Then 4 degrees ahead later in the morning to 29 degrees Celsius, becomes partly cloudy. Then in the afternoon it rises much further by about 7 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy. And then it drops back to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening, and the weather will become clear at that time. And overnight, it will drop by 3 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius as well. Elsewhere expected to be partly cloudy in the Ibadan, southwest Oyo State today.
Okay, and from Oyo State, let's cross over to Akure Airport, Ondo. Weather this morning feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later this morning is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%. And of course, in the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, we have 26 degrees Celsius, clear around 4%. And overnight, we have 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 9%. And that's what we have for Akure this morning.
And from Akure to Lagos, so what is happening in Lagos? Talking about the weather today. The weather feels like 32 degrees Celsius across board, and it drops later in the morning to 29 degrees Celsius. Also expected to be partly cloudy at 23% relative humidity right there. And afternoon, it also rises by about 2 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius. And it's expected to be partly cloudy. Then the weather becomes clear at 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. And overnight, it drops by 1 degree Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. And it's expected to be partly cloudy in Lagos today.
Okay, let's cross over to Ilorin East Kwara this morning. Weather feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius, sunny around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 37 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. In the evening, we have 29 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, we have 24 degrees Celsius, clear around 5%. And that's what we have for Ilorin East Kwara this morning.
And from Ilorin to the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, and what the weather is like in Abuja today. The Federal Capital Territory is 23 degrees Celsius across board. Then it rises by 7 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, and that is quite sunny right there in Abuja. And later in the afternoon, it rises by 6 degrees Celsius also to 36 degrees Celsius, also remaining sunny. And then it becomes clear at 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. And of course, overnight, it drops much further by 5 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius, or the weather becomes clear at that time in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja today.
Okay, let's cross over to Sokoto North this morning. Weather feels like 19 degrees Celsius, and later is expected to rise to 24 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 33 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0% as well. And in the evening, we have 25 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, 21 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And that's what we have for Sokoto North this morning.
And from Sokoto now to Kano State, let's see what Kano the place of Abakabu Yusuf. Today, the weather feels like 16 degrees Celsius across board, and then a sharp increase in the morning to 24 degrees Celsius. The weather then becomes very sunny in that part of the country, and of course later in the afternoon it rises also to 31 degrees Celsius, still remaining sunny, and then the weather becomes clear in the evening at 23 degrees Celsius, also expected to be very clear overnight at 17 degrees Celsius in Kano Municipal, Kano State today.
Okay, let's cross over to Suleja, Niger. Weather this morning feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to rise to 31 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. And in the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0% as well. In the evening, we have 28 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, we have 24 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And that's what we have for Suleja this morning.
And that's where we draw the curtains on that particular weather update. Of course, you can follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Cast, and X at Dominion Cast, of course, Dominion Broadcast as well. And that's how much we take. After this break, we'll come back to take the news. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Anoluakpo Ido. President Bola Tinubu has transmitted a bill to the Senate seeking to amend the Court of Appeal Act to increase the number of justices from 70 to 110. According to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who read the letter containing Tinubu's request as plenary, the proposed amendment is aimed at strengthening the institutional capacity, efficiency and effectiveness of the Court of Appeal in line with the constitutional provisions and current realities in the justice sector. Tinubu said the reforms will strengthen access to justice and reinforce public confidence in the judiciary. Following the reading of the letters, Akpabio referred the bills and the nomination to the Senate Committee on Rules and Business for further legislative action. And moving on, President Bola Tinubu was received with full diplomatic and military honors at the presidential complex in Ankara beginning his high-level state visit to the Republic of Turkey. President Tinubu, who was accompanied by his host, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, withdrew into a closed-door bilateral meeting where discussions on matters of strategic national importance are expected to take place. Meanwhile, the special advisor to the President on Policy Communication, Daniel Bwala, described Tinubu's ongoing state visit to Turkey as a strategic and highly consequential engagement, dismissing suggestions that it is a routine foreign trip. Bwala assured that details of specific agreements will be communicated at the conclusion of the visit. Meanwhile, Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Tinubu on Community Engagement for the Northwest, Abdullahi Tanko, has announced a new drive to get at least 10,000 out-of-school Almajiri children back into classrooms and rehabilitate dilapidated public schools across the region. He launched the effort by handing out uniforms, exercise books, school bags and other learning materials to pupils at Kawaji Yakaba Primary School in Kano. According to Tanko, the program started last year and similar interventions will continue every term. The president's aide said he is working with engineers to assess schools' infrastructure state and report to the presidency. Justice James Omotosh of the Federal High Court in Abuja has struck out an ex parte motion filed by the convicted leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, seeking his transfer from the Sokoto Correctional Facility. At the proceedings, Kanu's legal representative, Demdo Osan, a senior legal officer of the Legal Aid Council, informed the court that he wished to withdraw from the matter, citing irreconcilable issues. In his ruling, Justice Omotosho commended the council for upholding the dignity of the court and granted leave for Demdo and the Legal Aid Council to withdraw from representing the defendant. Justice Omotosho thereafter ordered that the ex parte motion be struck out for lacking competence. And now to Oyo State. Oyo State government has held free health outreach across the 33 local government areas of the state for increased life expectancy and productivity as part of efforts to celebrate Oyo at 50. Chairman Oyo at 50 Celebration Planning Committee, Honorable Said Akiade Fijabi, while leading members of the committee on the statewide monitoring of the exercise, said the state government remained committed to improving health of elderly, young, pregnant and persons with disability. Similarly, a member of the Planning Committee and Senior Special Assistant on Broadcast Media to Oyo State Governor Bosedle Sadiq applauded the people of the state for their support and cooperation by turning out massively for the outreach. Still in Oyo State House of Assembly has adopted a report of its Committee on Ethics and Privileges, which indicted Honorable Ibrahim Aremu Shitu, member representing Saki West State's constituency, over a viral video in which he made allegations considered defamatory and damaging to the integrity of the legislature. However, despite accepting the committee's report and all its recommendations, the House rejected the apology tendered by Honorable Shitu and referred the matter back to the Ethics and Privileges Committee for further disciplinary recommendations. Honorable Shitu was alleged to have publicly accused the Majority Leader, Honorable Sonjo Onolakpo, Ogbomoso South, of receiving bribes from the chairman of Saki West local government, while also casting disparaging remarks on the Speaker and the House President. The House thereafter referred the matter back to the Ethics and Privileges Committee for further recommendations on appropriate disciplinary action. And now in business, Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals has announced an increase in the ex-country price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, from 699 per litre to 799 naira per litre. Dangote Refinery, in a statement, explained that the facility implemented a deliberate and temporary price support intervention during the festive period to cushion the effect of heightened household spending during the Yuletide on Nigerians. The Chief Executive Officer, Dangote Petroleum Refinery, David Bird, stated that the refinery continues to supply the domestic market with approximately 50 million litres of PMS daily, with nationwide evacuation and distribution operating normally. The firm also reaffirmed its commitment to market stability and uninterrupted nationwide supply of petrol. And now in sport, head coach of Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconet, Moses Aduko, has expressed satisfaction with the team's preparations ahead of their third-round FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifying fixture against Senegal. Aduko speaking today is when in Abuja expressed confidence in the quality and mentality of the players, citing their competitive displays in recent friendly matches ahead of the 12th edition of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup Finals in Poland from September 5 to September 27th. The winner of the Nigeria-Senegal tie will advance to the final round of the African qualifying series to face the winner of the Guinea-Bissau versus Malawi fixture for one of Africa's 4 slots at the tournament. And that's about it on Daybreak News. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And that's Daybreak News. I'm Anu Oluwapo Ido. Thank you for watching.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
So I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a customary court one time, and there was a proceeding that was supposed to happen, and I was there. The defendants, all of those people were there, and the lawyers were actually present at the place as well. But the person that was going to be, I think that was sued at the time, was not physically present. I think the person was in the US, and they needed to conduct that proceedings in Nigeria. So the person had to join online. But one thing happened that day. Of course, network issues came up and a lot of things. But I think one of the issues was that the judge particularly said she does not like virtual proceedings because of the errors that might come from that. But a lot of that has happened in the country. But it seems to be like a way forward for us in the country now, after the president has recently, wrote to the Senate yesterday seeking about approval for 110 justices for appeal court and 90 for federal high court. And in fact, he even named Oyewole to be confirmed as justice of the Supreme Court. That is about what the president said yesterday. But that's one of the things we're going to be highlighting on this particular segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we check into the prints, the high point, the low point of the stories, and then the stories are making the rounds across the country, Nigeria. That is of interest. But of course, I'll get into the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, maybe to talk about the court issues, particularly virtual proceedings in the country. Seems like, yes, eureka moment for some persons. Maybe court will now need to provide those facilities, so those equipment as well, to live stream a court proceeding. I mean, this is a development. This is being done in several countries of the world. Developed nations of the world have adopted this as a thing to do, and they are not even scared. They are not aversive to this because they feel this is the right way. What about people who are currently, somewhere, physically to the courts? How do they manage? But yes, that's about it on that story. Proposes electronic visual transmission of court proceedings in amendment bill. That is the story on Nigerian Tribune newspaper. That is the biggest caption this morning, and that story says Tinubu 110 justices for appeal court, 90 for federal high court. Seems like a good one. Proposes electronic virtual transmission of court proceedings and amendments be a Oyewole confirmed as justice of the Supreme Court. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. I'll go to the top corner, the left hand side of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, and that's talking about the by-election. Now, Fubara refutes allegation of supporting the ADC candidate. That's on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. But you know about this story. You know about the Fubara, Wike, Martins and Maiwule saga, and of course now the ADC is in question. But yes, we'll keep tabs on this and see where this story would lead us to. But now, moving on from that to talk economics now. CBN rejects 4.9 trillion naira OMO bid to tighten liquidity, stabilize yields, and that's talking commerce, economics, and finance today. But moving on from that particular one as well, LCC laments as national grid collapses again, second time this year. So just yesterday, the reports came out that yes, yet again after 4 days, another national grid collapse happened in the country, Nigeria. But yes, according to reports by the operators, they said all hands were on deck at the time to ensure they brought it back to work. And of course, yes, I think we'll give it to them because this administration has done quite a lot, especially with the power grid collapse in recent times. They've done so well to say it doesn't collapse as often, and sometimes when it does, they find a way to manage it and repair it as fast as possible. But there's no issue with a collapse. There's no issue with an issue in the country. The only thing we should work on is conflict resolution. How can we better this situation? How can we tackle it? And I think that's one thing to do, right, if you are in government or you are in any position that requires to serve people, because it's actually a service. But moving on from that story, for one of time, there are many other stories saying pick me, but of course I will still pick some on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Tinubu stumbles in Turkey, no cause for alarm as presidency came. Oh yeah, that's no big deal. Don't make a fuss out of this. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. It's no big deal, so calm down. Explains he stepped on the metal on the floor, lost his balance briefly as he holds talks with President Erdogan. We hope this will be something that will yield for the country, Nigeria, because if the president had to sleep on that, then he has to produce something for us. We don't want our president to be sleeping. And that's one of the things we think, and we hope that, yes, the bilateral relations between Nigeria and Turkey would make sense and would benefit the country at large. Moving on from that as well, protest rocks Onitsha over main market shutdown. Yes, that was in the news yesterday, and we brought it out, and it's still making the rounds as well in the country about Onitsha markets. Of course, the governor Soludo came out to say, and then he decried the whole market people thing, and then they came out to protest as well. But that's the story in Onitsha. Well, we'll still keep fingers crossed on that and see what becomes of that. I'll flip the pages now from Nigerian Tribune now to New Telegraph newspaper. What do we have on that print particularly? How big is the caption? How catchy is the caption. Yes, as national grid collapses second time, that's a big story on the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. In 4 days, LCCI says its new economic emergency. That is that report right there. As national grid collapses second time in 4 days, LCCI says it's now economic emergency. Perhaps it's something to fix. Perhaps it's not something to keep looking at, keep hoping. We should do something about it. Maybe that's what the LCCI is saying this morning. I think it's a good way to go for the country. Setting the record straight on the disqualification of Nestor Islaya. That's another story right there. But yes, of course, politicians have hijacked FCT strike. That's some week. The minister of the FCT has come out to say a slamming court for ignoring ministers' criminal violations. That's NLC. Of course, slamming court for ignoring Wike's criminal violations. That's allegedly, like they would say. Of course, that story is about the FCTA protest, the workers protesting the FCT. And then, yes, some Wike, and some are linking it again to Similari Fubara and how the Minister of the State has been, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, has been moving from one local government in River State to another. But yes, that's about that. Moving on from that. Tinubu asks Senate to amend Federal High Courts Act, raise justices to 90. That's how Telegraph brought out the story this morning. And court rejecting Nnamdi Kanu's request for transfer from Sokoto prison. IPOB, I think I can't say this clearly, but if exactly that's the story. Court rejecting Nnamdi Kanu's request for transfer from Sokoto prison. That is also a story right there. Of course, we brought it also in the news that one thing led to the other. But yes, it was called, that particular was called for lack of is it merit or of a moral standard to stand in court. But yes, that's the issue, and we'll keep tabs on that as well. We have received over 3.7 human rights violation complaints in 2025, and that's coming from the NHRC. It says most linked to insecurity, poverty, governance deficits. That is also something to see right there. Now moving on from the Telegraph newspaper to Leadership newspaper. And what do we have on Leadership newspaper this morning? Diazani is on the front page. You might want to see, you might want to check that out this morning. Diazani received 100,000 pounds in cash as bribe. That's the story, right? That's from a UK prosecutor about Alison Diazani Madueke. Of course, in that suit. We'll move on from that particular issue to see federal government raises 501 billion naira bond, settles for the 121.42 billion naira power sector debts. That is also a good one for the country, Nigeria. And Kuka has said something to chair leadership conference. Of course, that's also for read. If you want to get into that page, page 7 is where to catch up on that story this morning. NDLEA unveils crop substitution project for illicit cannabis and farmers. Of course, that story is on page 21 about NDLEA. I think there's been so many arrests and rearrests recently. We've seen the case where a woman was actually apprehended by the NDA officers, and quite a number of persons in recent times. It seems the spike in the use of drugs and abuse of substance has been on the hike in the country recently, and it's something that is a far cry from what we should have in the country. But yes, that's about that on the NDLEA issue. We keep that as well on that and many more. Central Bank grants 2-month form M relief to importers. Form M relief form is a form for importers, and of course CBN has granted a 2-month grant, which is a good one, right, for business owners who are in that line of profession. But yes, moving on from that, presidency dismisses concerns over Tinubu's stumble in Turkey. That is that story. And yes, another one says we will prioritize Electoral Act, Constitution Amendment 2026 budget, and that's coming from reps. There's been a conversation that shortly before the Senate resumed plenary yesterday that it was going to be on top of their list constitutional amendment. Others have said, this is long overdue. This is something we should have in the country. In fact, we've taken it too long to start. I mean, so if we are starting now, it's never too late. Like they say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And I think that's what the reps are saying this morning, to say yes, they're going back to constitutional reform, but not just that. They also said they would prioritize Electoral Act, Constitutional Amendment, and 2026 budget. as well. We'll keep tabs on that to see what the House will really bring out, or which will top their list, or which will be on the spotlight for the National Assembly as well as the House of Reps in the country, Nigeria. Now, Atiku Obi seeks free and fair polls as Aregbesola dismisses governor's defections. That is also on leadership newspaper, the Dan Corner. You see the story, Atiku Obi seek free and fair polls as Aregbesola dismisses governor's defections. That is the story. Meanwhile, in Kano State, Kwakwanso is also right there, as you can see on your print. It says Kwakwanso begins restructuring Kwakwasia movement after Yusuf's exit. So maybe the question will be, what is Kwakwansia movement about this time around? Or perhaps what is Kwakwanso about this time around? Yesterday it was also in the news that the son of Kwakwanso had to, he came out to say he's not, he wants to resign his appointment as the Commissioner for Youth in Kano State. And that brought about a lot of questions, agitations, speculations, and all of that to say, you're fighting for your dad. I mean, this is a position you should just continue to do. But I think one of the things that he made mention of in the statement was that he had no feud, no personal vendetta, no personal ill blood or bad blood between himself and Abba Kabir Yusuf, the Kano State governor. But I think he mentioned the fact that he would not continue with an administration that has lost track of the ideology that brought it in. What is the ideology? Maybe questions should be asked, really. If you say ideology, what do you mean ideology? Is it solidarity? Is it godfatherism? What exactly is the ideology behind the NNPP that you think the governor of the state, Abba Kabir Yusuf, has violated for you to say you are not serving the country again? I think this is, something for this, because there's been that issue about his defection. This is not the first time we've heard about this. We've seen an NPP chairman, we've seen their spokesperson as well come out to say, you know what, as of now, I think that was last week, they said they've not received any official notification from Abba Kabir Yusuf of his defection. But after that, something happened, and that was the visit to the president. The president and Abba Kabir Yusuf had a meeting, and it was all about that. So there were speculations that, oh yeah, what could have happened? But not to forget, the governor of Oyo State was also, he gave a visit to the president, and some were saying that maybe he's also looking for the same. Perhaps a way to say, come in and let's get you something more. But yes, the governor came out to say that what they had, Governor Makinde, that what they had at the table of discourse on that particular visit was about transforming the nation and progress and development across regions, and nothing about politics. But really, can it be without politics? Can you talk to politicians without politics? Anyway, maybe that's his claims. But yes, Abba Kabir Yusuf has moved from the NNPP to the APC, and it seems like a good one for the APC, making 29 governors currently in the APC. Some have alleged that this is a one-party state system. Some have said that, if the center is doing well, why not just join them? For the better good of the community, maybe, or for the states in general. Or that is saying that, it's just political maneuvering, that is nothing about what the government or administration is doing so well, but it's about the people who want power, who want immunity. But that's in clause. But yes, allegedly, like they would say. But that is that story. Kwakanso has come back to the table to say, let's go back to the drawing table and let's drive out what we should have for the Kwakwansia movement that brought in a governor, that brought in many states lawmakers and even federal lawmakers as well in that region. But we understand why Kano is also on the table of discourse. Very important. Kano is very important to everybody, to any political party, because of the numbers. So if you are a person who consider numbers, like some would say that politics is a game of numbers. If you consider a number to be a thing, then you might consider Kano to be a place to go. 2023 elections, Kano produced about 1.74 million votes, in the state alone, and that surpasses every other. The year before, the election before, that was in 2019, it produced about 1.96. So you can imagine, if you have someone producing millions, why would you not get it? But yes, Kwakwansia movement is starting something. That's the most important story right now. What is Kwakwanso starting again with the Kwakwansia movement? So what exactly are they trying to do, and how can this be seen moving forward? Is it for the ANPP, or is there going to be a merger between the NNPP, I meant to say, and another party. All of that, we'll keep our fingers crossed on and see what becomes of that. But yes, very interesting. Come 2027, so many debates, conversations are really spiking, everybody talking about one thing or the other, but it's something to really check out. And of course, Nigerians will also hold our leaders accountable. I mean, don't just go to a party because you want to go. Go because a party has an ideology that can help the people. Because at the end of the day, we keep saying it's all about the people. It's nothing about you. I mean, I don't know why we don't think this way, because the best you have is just a few years. At best, say 120 years, and then you're gone. Someone else comes in. I mean, so what do you want to say that you did? What do you want to be said of you after you've left office? And this is a call to our politicians and our political leaders. It's not just see leadership as a political, ground to say, I just want the crowd, I just want the numbers, I just want to win. Win to do what? It's service, and that's what we call you to say. Oh, we speak truth to power. You should ensure that beyond the political drive, beyond the all of this, the impression of yes, you want to make a name for yourself. Kindly help the people that are suffering too, and that's very important. I'll move on from the leadership newspaper now to see what the Punch newspaper is saying this morning. Right on the Punch newspaper, very punchy this morning is the front page of the Punch newspaper. You want to know what that says? It says investigation uncovers colonel who plotted Tinubu's ouster. That is that. Interim report reviews military officers targeted president, vice president, ministers, and key installations. Arrests ongoing. So the arrest is in plural, and that's one of the most important things in this story. The arrest is not just for one person, not for two, not for three. The arrest is ongoing. So they've arrested. We got wind of one information that about 16 of top leaders in the military have been apprehended and has been court-martialed as we speak. And now there seems to be another story, a development that's, yes, more to come. So they are still picking up people, arresting people. We hope justice is really done to that issue, because we've been saying this too, that what becomes of people who plot coups and never come to bear? What about, because the people who actually plot or plan coup and then it happens, those people get to get maybe national honors someday. They become presidents even in the country. What about the ones, so there's a court-martial process for the ones that did not succeed. The ones that succeed, you just pamper them, because they have also put in place administrations and structures that will ensure that they don't get caught in the web long after they have served the country. But yes, if it's all about service, why take it by force? I mean, I don't want to stress that, but yes, let's not be the dead horse on that issue. But it's very important that our leaders understand these things, that if it's about service, it should be a free will thing. It should not be a do or die affair. Because if you want to kill everybody, drive everybody just to become a president or a governor at the expense of people's lives, I mean, so what then are you supposed to serve? The dead people? Yeah, moving on from that now. Presidency downplays Tinubu's tumble, says Turkey visits on course. That we've said, and that we keep saying as much as we have it in the newsprint this morning. This goes, yes, that's the story also on the Punch newspaper this morning. You can see the face of Adelabu Adebayo, the power minister, right there. This goes, blame low generation as grid collapses third time. And that's like the story on the Punch newspaper. This goes are blaming low generation as grid is yet collapsing again. There was just a few days ago, Discos came out to say that what Adebayo Adelabu said on behalf of the government, that prepaid meters should be free, especially the ones they've collected through World Bank loans should be free for the average Nigerian. And then they said even the installation, how can you say that? Because we are going to be at the end of that. We are going to be receiving that, that we are going to be the ones paying for installation, and we cannot do that. So they said Discos decried what the federal government came out to say, especially about the power ministry. They said that yes, this new prepaid meter that we have is actually for free regardless of the band you belong to. The installation has to come for free, and this guy said no, this is not going to work for us. We cannot be incurring the cost on ourselves. Why wouldn't the presidency take responsibility? So there seems to be a shifting of responsibilities. You take this, is not mine. You collect it back and all that, back and forth. But yes, this course is also lamenting because there is low grid power generation, and that's exactly one of the things they said is contributory to this time and again grid collapse in the country. But yes, moving on to that story of Tinubu proposing 110 courts of appeal justices. How does this reflect on an average person? Well, we've also said this is important because if you consider how many cases are still outstanding in the country, I think I did a bit of research and I saw that, of course, there are criminal cases about running into about 500 thereabouts in the country that are still pending. They've not even sat over it. Why? For lack of, judges, for lack of facilities, for lack of a lot of institutional deformities and those things that should have been in place. And that's why they could not have those proceedings in those courts. But yes, it seems like the president is moving for more. Let's have more so we can have all of the cases that are still pending, the cases that are still awaiting hearing. We should have to hear them. Let's hear them and see what we have from those particular court proceedings. Now, moving on from that as well, to still check what the Punch is saying in terms of some of the things that we're checking now. Wike threatens workers as court orders strike suspension. Yes, that is also something to check out in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Wike is threatening workers as court orders strike suspension. That is also a story. Of course, we also understand that Yesom Wike has gone with the president to Turkey. So just so you're looking for Yesom Wike, his whereabouts is is actually known to everybody. Now, how I lost 3-week-old daughter to Makoko demolition. That's coming from a carpenter. You've seen that story in recent times about Lagos State, the Makoko incident. Some will saying that some persons, maybe NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and foreign partners are trying to use Makoko for their own personal gains. And on all of that, some have said that Makoko, yes, has its issues in terms of maybe taking or maybe I don't know how best to put that, but yes, that they are polluting the waterways and all that, and there are a lot of things about that. But yes, the people are saying that what the government did is not actually good, because some of them claim to have lived there for over 10 years, 15 years, and you can imagine you growing up in the place and then it has to be taken away. I mean, that's not bad enough, except that there's nowhere to go. If you say go away from Makoko, where should people go? Lagos is just about 3,300 and something kilometers square, and it's like, yes, there's still a lot to do. We're trying to get more lands, trying to get more, take water away and then put land on it and a lot of that. But let's see that conversation. We hope the best will come out for the people as well as for the government of Lagos State, while we keep tabs on these and many other stories. So Showere's trial is also on the Punch newspaper, and it says court admits on mockery clip calling Tinubu drug lord. That is also something to check out this morning. So Showere did not just call that, he also called a name that I would not mention right here, defamatory speech against the president. So that's why there's been a court precedent involving Showere as we speak. But there's another one that they've gotten a clip that he said President Tinubu is a drug kingpin, a drug lord. But yes, that is for the court to decide on, and we'll keep tabs on this as well as we keep tabs on many other stories. Now, Daily Independent newspaper has another story in politics, and it says Atiku, Aregbesola, and David Mark say Tinubu's admin worst in decades. Atiku, Aregbesola, Mark says Tinubu's admin worst in decades. Governors can't sway elections, Aregbesola assures. I was almost assassinated because of loyalty, and that's coming from Atiku, the former vice presidential candidate in the country. NGF didn't champion doctrine of necessity, and that's coming from David Mark as well. Yes, so many things to talk about this issue. But yes, moving on from that for want of time. Resume work of face sanctions. We get all striking FCC workers. That's also the story. Now, on power crisis, seems the federal government has done something worth reeling out this morning. Federal government raises 501 billion naira bond to clear debt burden. That is also something to check out this morning. Another story says experts flag climate smart farming. Others as key to food security. Climate smart farming is something that many nations are already adopting, but I think it's a good one for Nigeria to also adopt this particular move, because some have also said that climate change does not exist, but you only need to ask yourself, perhaps ask the farmers because they get, they are very close to that situation. So they can tell you what an average farmer experiences 5 years ago is not the same he experiences right now because of changing times, changing weather conditions, and a lot of that. And that's like a good one to say. Experts are flagging climate smart farming and others as key to food security. Like they say, once food has been resolved, food crisis has been resolved, then every other thing is almost as good as done. But yes, that's about that on agriculture, on food security in the country, Nigeria. Tinubu in stable condition after fall in Turkey. That's coming from the presidency, like we've also laid emphasis on today. Now, moving on to Daily Sun newspaper and see what the Daily Sun is saying this morning. The Daily Sun says, court strikes out Kanu's motion seeking transfer from Sokoto prison. That is a big story right there. Atiku Aregbesola knock Tinubu. Is government worse than military dictatorship? That's coming from the former vice president, Atiku, saying Tinubu's government is worse than military dictatorship. Governors can't save president. APC in 2027. That's coming from an ex-Osun governor, also saying that as well as Aregbesola, yes, that government or governors, even having 29 governors is not enough to win 2027 elections as well, and a lot more about that. And that's about it on that story. But yes, of course, there are many other stories, but one story that is to come right now is the big story. I will check what's on the big story today. Something very important with Oluwayemi Adelakun. That will be shortly after this break. Join us again.
cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And these are the words of George Santana. On October 1st, 2025, something unusual happened. For the first time in decades, the federal government cancelled the Independence Day military parade, an event deeply symbolic of Nigeria's sovereignty, unity, and the historic role of the armed forces in nation building. Days later, reports began to circulate, reports of an alleged coup plot, arrest of military officers, and whispers of internal unrest within the ranks. The defense headquarters denied any connection. But by October 31st, confirmation came. Investigation had been concluded. Officers had been identified and military judicial processes were underway. This development reopens an political authority. From 1966 to 1999, the gun often dictated governance, coups, counter-coups, and prolonged military rule shaped our institutions, civil-military relations, and even our democratic anxieties. So when allegations of coup plotting surface in a democratic era, no matter how firmly denied or institutionally undone, it forces us to ask deeper questions. Has Nigeria truly moved beyond the shadow of military intervention in politics? What lessons from our past still echo in the present? And how strong are the democratic safeguards that separate today's Nigeria from yesterday's school? This morning, on The Big Story, we examine Nigeria's military and politics. How does the past inform the present? Joining me is Ignatius Ebosalume-Ofino, researcher and public affairs analyst. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Let's interrogate history so we can better understand today. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Oluwayemi Yemi Adelakun.
Right, it's great to have you this morning. So let's talk about the coup now. But before we actually talk about what happened recently, I want to believe, I'm of the opinion that we cannot fully understand the present without taking an adventure into the past, which will help us understand the present. You know, barely 6 years after independence, Nigeria gained independence in 1960, and 1966, there was a coup. Certain factors led to this coup, led to the military incursion. We have the external factors and, of course, the internal factors. Speaking about the internal factors, I'm talking about factors that are generated from within the military. And I'm talking about things like, some junior officers complain bitterly that the senior officers are enjoying so much. They have access to the suites, big cars, and they live a luxurious life. And then other issues, are external factors. I'm talking about things that were happening in Nigeria as at that time. I'm talking about the electoral unrest, talk about the election of 1964, 1965 that led to Operation Wetie. I'm talking about, corruption, weak institutions, and quite a number of things, that led to the military incursion. Now, a lot of persons are arguing now that we are seeing an attempted coup happen recently. People are saying, is it because the relics of the military incursion back in 1966 down to 1999 have they surfaced again? Can you explain better on this? Can you link the past with the present? Really?
Thank you very much, Yemi.
Yeah.
Nigeria gained independence, political independence, October 1, 1960. There was the political unrest of 1963, better being known as Operation Wetie. So there was a military coup in 1966. That military coup was led by no other person than Major Nzegu Kaduna. So there was a counter coup, and that counter coup was led by General Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi. Then there was also what we call a counter coup led by Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma. They now installed General Yakubu Gowon as the military head of state. So he ruled Nigeria. The first coup that happened on January 15, 1966. Then in July, that day, there was a counter coup led by General Aguiyi-Ironsi. So Aguiyi-Ironsi was just in power for 6 months. July 29, he was overthrown by this person, the coup that was being led by Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma. And they decided to install General Yakubu Gowon. So from 1966 to 1975, Gowon ruled Nigeria as a military head of state. So he was overthrown when he attended a meeting of OAU, Organization of African Unity, in Kampala. It was a palace coup led by no other person than General Muritala Ramat Mohammed. That one was in power for 6 months. That was July. Palace coup organized by Colonel Dimka. Sukabuka Dinka. So he was assassinated. It was on a Friday, Jumat service. The military head of state was attending a Jumat service. So he was now assassinated. At the end of the day, there was confusion in the country. So the military institution now decided to install General Olusegun Obasanjo to become the military head of state. So he was just there for 3 years. From 1976 to 1979, before he now handed over to a democratically elected president in 1979. That was October 1. Alhaji Aliyu Shehu Shagari. So Shagari was there from 1979 till December 31st, 1983. Because from 1979 to October 1, 1983, that is 4 years. So he won a second term in office. But there was a political instability and controversy surrounding that election. So this man, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, they organized their own coup and they overthrew a democratically elected government. So on August 27, 1985, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida organized a palace coup. So that palace coup was very successful. Muhammadu Buhari, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, was around, but this man, Brigadier General Tunde Idiagbon, went for the Hajj. That was why the coup was successful. People are still saying that assuming he was around, the coup wouldn't have been successful. So that apart. Then there was what we call the Mamavasa coup of 1986 that has become a subject of controversy. Then there was the bloodiest coup in the Nigerian history. That was the Gideon Oka coup of 1990. It was on a Sunday, April 22. Do you know that the ADC to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida was killed in that coup? It was a bloody coup. That was 1990. Then from there, subsequently, then
we had election in 93.
That was the 1993 election. Yeah. Even before the 1993 election, there was an election we call option A4 that was being won by Lieutenant General Shehu Yaradua, the elder brother of Umaru Musa Yaradua. He won that election, but Babangida cancelled that election. That was in 1992. That was when we had the issue of senators. We had an existing senators. In 1992, there was an election. But in one of 1993 was the one that was being annulled, the June 12, 1993 presidential election that was being annulled. So because Babangida ruled from 1985 to 1993. So on August 26, he decided to do what? Step down.
We had Abacha.
Yes, he stepped down, not for Abacha. He stepped down and handed over to Chief Ernest Shonekan.
Abacha came to play.
So Shonekan was there for 88 days. So on November 20, there was a palace coup led by who? General Sani Abacha. People are saying that Babangida was supposed to go with Abacha when he decided to step down. So that was the finger of conspiracy, probably to compensate Abacha, because Abacha was able to counter the coup led by Gideon Oka.
They were friends, were they not?
Yes, they were friends. The same thing Mamamvasa too, but it was an alleged coup. The one that happened in 1986, the Mamamvasa coup. So now what happened was this: Abacha now ruled for 5 years, from 1993 to 1998. So he died mysteriously. So this man, General Abdusalami Abubakar, now took over as the military head of state, and he ruled Nigeria for just 10 months.
And he helped us install
yes, and decided to install democracy. That was on May 29, 1999. So when we are talking about military, you are talking about the armed group or the armed component of an independent nation. An independent nation must have a standing army. But there is what called the constitutional responsibility of the army. Defending the territorial sovereignty of the country. We have what we call representative government. The military are not supposed to govern. What they are supposed to do is to defend the territorial sovereignty of the country. But when you are seeing the military intrusion or incursion in Nigeria, who are to blame? The civilians. It has been alleged that most of the Nigerian civilian government, they are corrupt. We look at what happened in 1963, Operation Wet here. A lot of politicians were killed in that process.
I mean, it led to ethnic rivalry,
yes,
especially the Western region. But Ofino, in your view now, your own opinion, are you saying that the factors that led to the military incursion in 1966 are evident in the present administration?
Do you know what Aristotle said? Okay. He said there is enough for everyone's need, but there isn't enough for everyone's greed. Are they not still in place? We are having a democratically elected government that is corrupt. The cost of governance is so high. During the days of the military, there was discipline. Let me give an instance. The late military head of state, General Ramat Mohammed, Muritala Mohammed, ruled for 6 months. He was a socialist. He was the one that introduced what called the indigenization policy. He was a socialist. Up to date, people are still celebrating Muritala Mohammed. I remember General T.Y., General Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi. He was the one that abolished the regional government and decided to introduce the unification decree. That unification decree abolished the regional government. You know, Nigeria was practicing what we call parliamentary system of government. He abolished it and decided to establish what we call the unification decree. So Nigeria became a federation. In 1967, when there was what we call a civil war between Biafra and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Gowon decided to introduce states. That was where he created 12 states. In 1975-76, the military also added 7 states, making what? 19 states. So when Babangida came into power in 1987, introduced 2 additional states, we now have what we call 21 states. So in 1991, we had what we call 30 states. So when Abacha now came into power, Abacha now decided to introduce what we call 5 additional states, making 36 states. Okay. So that was in 1996. So presently Nigeria is having 36 states. It was the military that created all the states you are seeing today. The military did a lot of things that you can see in terms of economic transformation. There was what we call the Directorate for Food, Rural, and the Directorate for Food, Road, and Rural Infrastructure, DFRI. There was what we call the Mass Mobilization for Socio-Economic Reform.
That was
MAMSA.
NYC also came, but because of time now, because we've been able to trace the past now, let's focus on what happened recently. Now, what do you make of this constant dismissal of what later becomes the truth? At a time, the military said there was no coup attempt at all. And then recently, they came out to confirm that, yes, there was a coup attempt. And of course, Nigerians are saying now that even the trust of Nigerians in their government, is a little bit fragile. This has worsened the situation. It's sickening for a lot of Nigerians. Why is it that at a time, the military will come out to say there was no attempt and then later come back to confirm it? Now, this is the argument of the military and, of course, many Nigerians to say that they were trying to douse the tension. They were trying to not cause any form of violence amongst people. But then, don't you think something was supposed to be addressed in a better way than just confirming outrightly that there was no coup attempt?
There is one thing we must understand. Nigeria is an independent nation. So when you are talking about our Independence Day anniversary, it's a day of celebration. But it was cancelled. Later we now got to know that there was an attempted coup, which the government even denied, probably to douse the tension in the country. But before now, there have been what we call military insubordination, especially those who are fighting against terrorists in the northeast region of the country. Are they well paid? Are they being paid? We have to be honest to ourselves. How many of these men and their children are actually being taken care of by government? You know the military, they are not politicians. They are not supposed to be biased. The military are not supposed to be partisan. They lose their sleep so that you and I can sleep. They lose their life so that you and I can live.
Are you talking about the junior officers now?
I'm talking about the junior officers.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the senior military officers. The senior military officers in Nigeria, they are capitalists. Most of them are politicians. Are they willing to die for the country? Do you know what it means for you to be a military officer in the United States? Even if you lose your life in line of office, you'll be celebrated as an hero who defended the territorial sovereignty of the United States. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. The other day, the terrorists slaughtered a general of the Nigerian army, and nothing happened. So pathetic. These are men who lose their comfort so that you and I can enjoy our comfort. They lose their sleep so that you and I can sleep comfortably. They lose their life so that you and I can live. Are we not supposed to take good care of them? It's the failure of the civilian government. The civilian government keep amassing wealth to themselves. Do you know the number of allowances that governor enjoy? Do you know the number of allowances that the president and the vice president enjoy? That's what we call Esther Code. It's there. But these military men, especially those we call rank and files, junior officers, are they being taken care of? Now when you look at the Nigerian army, there is what we call infiltration. Is there caused by who? Not by this rank and file, caused by the senior military officer. Because when you want to recruit anyone into the Nigerian army, who does the recruitment? Is it the junior officer? Okay, no, it's the senior officer. Okay. So they have compromised.
Okay, thank you so much, Ofino. Now that you have said that a lot of the junior officers are not well, taken care of, is there no better way to express that to the ruling government instead of a coup? Because a lot of people, a lot of philosophers, say researchers, they will tell you that it doesn't matter what is going on in the administration. A coup is never the solution. Because we've seen what it did, the last, especially for a country like Nigeria. Is there no better way to express those grievances?
Sometimes in some country, coup becomes the best option.
Really?
Though not necessary. The doctrine of necessity.
I don't agree with that.
No, that's the fact.
We've seen cases whereby, okay, the military will take over and then they become worse than the democratic-elected government.
A good example. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. He was a socialist. He was a military leader. Till date, there is crisis in Libya caused by the West. The Libyans are still regretting for assassinating their president.
But the Libyans that you're talking about protested against their leader at the
because
time.
There was a conspiracy.
Really?
From the West. Because this man believed in a United States of Africa. That Africa must be one. Go to Libya during the days of Gaddafi. He was a military leader. It's not about whether you are a civilian leader or a military leader. It's about you becoming a visionary leader. I talked about General Muritala Muhammad. For 6 months that he ruled Nigeria, he introduced what we call indigenization policy. There used to be what we call British petroleum.
What about
he now converted it to what we call African petroleum.
Ofido, what about Abacha loot? I mean, for years now, billions of naira were stashed in international banks across the nations, across the continent. And then you discover that, as a matter of fact, it's just maybe last year or this year that we have not received pocket money from the grave. There was a particular year, up to 3 times, huge amount of money was sent to Nigerian government.
Well, let me give you an example, the good side of Abacha.
Okay.
I'm going to give you his good side.
Okay.
There is one man they call Professor Sam Aluko. He was the Minister of Finance and the special advisor to economic affairs during the days of Abacha. He ensured that we what we call economic stability. The Nigerian currency was stable. Then Nigeria was declared as a pariah state. Do you know that during the days of Abacha, they removed the oil subsidy. They now introduced one thing, what we call Petroleum Trust Fund, PTF. Buhari was appointed as the chairman of PTF. There was rural infrastructure, massive infrastructure in this country.
But there was looting, and that's why we are getting...
There will be looting.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell you, we have some military men that are very intelligent. Look at General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. He introduced a lot of things. Then, when you're talking about the Federal Road Safety Corps, it was Babangida that introduced it and appointed Professor Wole Soyinka to be the pioneer chairman. of that agency.
Okay, another issue with the military incursion in Nigeria is the fact that a lot of persons, were really not tried. They were not tried. They were executed, during the military era.
Especially during the days of Muhammadu Buhari, there was public execution. Yeah. Buhari was not feared when they took over power. The civilian governors in the south were incarcerated, but those in the north went scot-free. On Obanjo, they arrested him, the former governor of Ogun State. The former governor of Bende State, Professor Ambrose Ali, was also incarcerated. The same thing they did to people like this man, our governor in Oyo State, Olululoyo. But the governors in the north, they went scot-free. So there was a frame-up charge that they were being corrupt. But what about the northern governors? We have to be honest to ourselves. We have some the military men. I'm not supporting military incursion, but it is the civilian that caused it in the first instance. But I can tell you today that till date, it has only been the military that has created state. No civilian government has ever done that. I wouldn't know whether Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to change.
It happened last year.
The narrative.
There were certain discussions around creation of state, though they are still deliberating. But let's come back to this issue now. Femi Falana, there's a son of this country. He was on national TV yesterday, and he said that Nigerians deserve an apology from DHQ. And of course, the media outlet that published that story in the first place, that yes, there was an attempted coup. What do you make of that? Do you think the apology will make for anything at all?
It doesn't make for anything.
Really?
I remember this man, Dasuki. Dasuki was the national security advisor to President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. So when the issue of Boko Haram crisis started and he wanted to escalate, Jonathan was looking for a way to get arms. President Barack Obama denied Jonathan access of acquiring arms. So Jonathan asked, how do we go about it? They now decided to go to South Africa. That was when they decided to use the private jet of Pastor Ayo Orishagafo, who was from Niger Delta, then the president of Christian Association of Nigeria. And at the end of the day, we now discovered what happened. The Dasuki Gate. That most of the money that was supposed to be used in procuring of what? Arms was looted. So there has been a lot of conspiracy against national security in Nigeria. And when we are talking about national security, it must never be compromised. The issue of security is highly classified. To down the tension, that was why the military institution now said that it was a speculation.
At the expense of integrity, really?
No, this is not the issue of the expense of integrity. The word integrity is relative.
It is.
We are talking about national stability.
Yes. But what about the trust that Nigerians should have in their government?
I know that there is what we call trust deficit.
Okay, do not forget that this is not the first time that something like this will happen. You see cases whereby the federal government will say, okay, no, this did not happen. And at the end of the day, they turn around to say, yes, it did
Sometimes
happen.
They said it is politically motivated, that coup. That probably the presidency does not want certain part of the country to dominate some senior military ranks. So there was a frame-up charge, a sting operation. Sometimes government lie under oath in order to promote what? National peace and stability. Nigeria is a complex country. You know, when Aguiyi-Ironsi organized a counter coup against Nzegu Kaduna, he took over power. The North were not satisfied. General T.Y. Danjuma was not satisfied until they came to this place to assassinate who? General Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi. And this Yoruba man, Adekule Fajuyi, paid the supreme price. You know, the head of state came to visit the western region. And we all knew what happened. Those who countered the coup now came. They came for who? General Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi. But Adekule Fajuyi said, no, this is my guest, the military head of state. He paid that supreme price. That is a Yoruba man for you. A hero. So it was more of an ethnic coup. The one led by Nzegu Kaduna, till date, they are still saying that it was an Igbo coup. When he organized that coup, they killed Ahmadu Bello.
There are several sides to that story, and I will not want
They
us to
killed
create
Bello.
an impression.
Tafawa Balewa
that is
was
not
killed, but they killed this man too. Akitola, Samuel Ladoke Akitola, the premier of Western Region.
Tafawa Balewa was also killed in the first coup, 1966.
No, I'm talking about Uzeku Kaduna coup.
Okay.
They killed a lot of people. But when it came to the issue of Zeke, Zeke was not around. When it came to the issue of the premier of Eastern Region. So that was why they saw it as an ethnic dimension in that coup.
And that has
Till
led
today, it has been refuted that it was not an Igbo coup. But till today, how do you change the narrative?
These are the issues that we have in our hands, and I think it's the duty of the historians and the researchers to correct those notions. But now let's talk about the arrested, or let me say the detained officers now. According to Section 35 of Nigerian Constitution, you are not expected to detain officers, military officers, for more than 3 months. And I guess, can I land, please? And I guess that's the reason why, after 3 months, they are saying they will take the matter to court now. But then this is the problem now, and I think Femi Falana also mentioned it as well. He said these detained officers, they don't have access to their doctors, they don't have access to their lawyers or their family members. Is that not a problem? Because, I mean, they need to be defended in court.
I remember those who are trying to organize the coup, we must ask the question, why do they want to organize the coup? In the first instance.
Okay.
Is there a problem on ground? Fine, yes or no. We must know the reason. Now, I remember the Oladipo Diya coup against Abacha.
Okay.
Then they also robbed Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is a man of destiny. I'm telling you, he's a man of destiny. I remember that time. Diya cried, Lieutenant General Oladipo Diya. He was the chief of general staff. Up to today, they said it was a frame-up coup. Because the Yorubas wanted what? A return to democracy. They wanted that stolen mandate to be returned back to who? Chief MKO Abiola. And you know Lieutenant General Oladipo Diya was a Yoruba man from Ijebu. The mandate that was stolen from a Yoruba man who was also from Egbaland, the same Ogun State. You can see the style of politics being displayed within the military institution. The military cabal, there used to be what called Kaduna Mafians. You are talking about the military cabal, the military politics.
I think this cuts across all the ethnic groups that we have in the country. I don't want us to focus too much on a particular region.
You are talking about those school plotters.
Yeah.
They should have access to medical services within the confine of the law.
Okay.
It should be what? Within the confine of the law. Chief Femi Falana should not be too emotional.
You think he's being emotional?
Yes! He should not be too emotional.
He's trying to interpret the law according to some
No, he should not be too emotional.
Okay.
The law says that when you organize a coup, you'll be court-martialed, especially if that coup failed. Let's assume the coup was successful. Who says they will not have assassinated the president that you people elected? So the life of the president must never be put in jeopardy.
Right. Ofino, the law says that the law will punish the intent and the action, whether it fails or not. And then Femi Falana also mentioned one thing that, these people should be charged to a civil court, not court-martial, because we do not run a military government as it is.
This is a military institution.
Okay.
They will be court-martialed based on the military law.
Not a civil court.
Not a civil court. They are military. They are not civilian. I remember my friend, when during his campaign, they wanted to assassinate him, President Donald Trump. Those who made attempt to assassinate him, at the end of the day, they were gunned down. They are civilians. They are not military. Because the military men in America knows that constitutionally, they are not allowed to rule America or to govern.
Okay.
So they must be court-martialed. They must be court-martialed according to military law. They will be tried according to the military law. What Falago can always agitate for is this. If they are going to be sentenced, they should be sentenced to what? Life imprisonment and not public execution.
I think
that is what he should agitate for.
The judge now. Who is going to
I'm not the judge, but that is what he should agitate for. Even if today you make an attempt that you are going to assassinate the president, you'll be arrested. If a madman on the street or a drunk is saying that he's going to assassinate the Nigerian president, the DSS has every constitutional responsibility to arrest that bad man because the life of the president must never be put in jeopardy.
Right.
We will not say because he's a madman. That is why threat to life is a criminal offense. If you and your neighbor are having issue at home and your neighbor threatening your life, what you have to do, go and report him or her to the police. It's a serious offense for you to issue a threat to the life of anyone, let alone a duly elected president.
Okay, Ofino, let's settle this dichotomy now. Some persons are saying initially, okay, the DHQ might not have mentioned the coup. It was just maybe an attempt to overthrow the government. Is there a difference between both statements, a coup and an attempt to overthrow the government?
An attempt to overthrow the government and a coup. When we say an attempt, that means that's the planning stage. The president was lucky because he was able to counter it at the planning stage. Well, but when it is being executed, the president may lose his life. Babangida was very lucky, but his ADC, aide-de-camp, was not lucky. He was killed.
Ofino, Aristotle we always mentioned while he was alive. You know, there's something called a means to an end. You know,
Yes.
it was an attempt, but it was a means to actually achieve something.
Let me give you an
Is there
example.
really a difference?
Let me give you an example. When an armed robber is caught,
Okay.
it still remains a substance. But when the judge, the presiding judge, is going to roll out the case, you know what he's going to say? He is going to address this person. You, Mr. So. The first offense is this: conspiracy to steal. Later they will now say 2, stealing. So the same thing applies to what? Attempted coup. Conspiracy to do what? To overthrow a duly elected government. So when you talk about your plan, it comes from your mind and your heart. Those shows that those senior military officers have been planning and planning and planning. Do we know when they have been planning? Nobody knows.
And
So,
just like you mentioned, the president is lucky was at the planning stage.
yes, at the
And
planning
they were able
stage.
to nip it in
I
the bud.
remember Harry Hawker, the leader of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, that bombed Abuja during October 1 Independence Day celebration. You remember Harry Hawker, MEND, movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, MEND.
Okay.
Later they arrested him at where? They arrested him in South Africa. It was an offense.
Yeah.
During a public function, October 1 bombing, during the days of Jonathan, it happened.
And I think that's why the parade
Because he felt that
was
he felt that he has every constitutional right to express his dissatisfaction about Jonathan's government concerning the issue, the plight of the people of the Niger Delta.
No, we have laws in the country, and
Violence cannot be used to correct violence.
Exactly. And then just before we go, let's talk about certain things now. There are certain African countries that have never experienced, another coup ever since they gained independence. Talk about Senegal since 1992 when they gained independence. Talk about South Africa and Cape Verde too. So, what do you think the Nigerian government should do
Those
to
countries-
avoid further attempts?
Those countries are actually governing well. There is difference between governance and politics. In Nigeria today, what their government are doing, they are doing more of politics than governance. Let me give you an example. Look at Wike. Yes, I'm Wike. He's more interested in politics than governance. You have been appointed as the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to oversee Abuja. But you are more interested in the politics that run in River State.
According to his appointer, he's doing a good job with that.
Because it's a plus to the president.
Okay.
It's a plus to him.
Okay.
You know, in politics, there is what we call the conspiracy theory. So the conspiracy theory is in favor of Mr. President himself. So Wike himself is a political spoiler doing the bidding of the presidency.
Okay, before we go, you said that the government, the current administration should rule well. What other things do you think they should put in place?
They must rule well.
Okay.
Economic policies that does not transform the life of the ordinary Nigeria will be best being described as what? A bad policy. We have some economic policy that is working in other countries of the world. But there is one thing you have to work on. You work on our what? Our own peculiarity.
Okay.
Our mindset. Nigeria is a complex country. We don't want a military coup anymore in this country. I would love a situation that Nigeria will mark 100 years of existence
Without-
since 1999 without any military incursion.
I look forward
Who
to
says
that.
it's not possible? It is possible. If the civilian government decide to rule and govern well. Look at the military institution. Look at the Nigerian police force. In the military, the government will buy your kit for you. Everything you need. But in the Nigerian police force, you are the one that will buy your kit. That is discriminatory. The Nigerian police force is saddled with the responsibility of what we call internal security. They lose their life so that you and I can live. They lose their sleep so that you and I can sleep. Are we treating the Nigerian police force well? No! It is bad.
So you think
Go to the barrack, the one that is very
issues
close
are
to us.
connected?
In Yagoku here, anytime I pass through it, I weep. The police headquarters, the giant of Africa. What a country. It saddens my heart.
Fino.
My heart bleeds.
Really?
Very close to us here, Yagoku. Very close.
It's really
The
sad.
barrack, very sad.
We need to
Very sad.
We need to-
What a country. What a president and what a people.
It's really sad, honestly. I think allegedly a police officer was also arrested in connection to this case, but then these are issues that we'll also look at some other time. A big thanks to you, Fino.
Thank you,
And
Yimi.
Boss Elime for joining this conversation.
I'm delighted to be here.
Really insightful. Thank you so much. We need to go. The soldiers' loyalty must be to the Constitution, not to ambition. A paraphrase from democratic civil military principles. Nigeria's history reminds us that democracy is not sustained by elections alone, but by institutions, accountability, and memory. The alleged coup plot of October 2025 may never evolve beyond military tribunals and internal discipline, but its significance lies in what it represents, a test of Nigeria's democratic maturity and the professionalism of its armed forces. Our past shows us where unchecked power can lead. Our present challenges us to prove that we have learned. The question is no longer whether Nigeria has experienced military rule, but whether Nigeria has truly outgrown it. And that is the conversation, that is the caution, and that is the big story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Thank you for listening. We need to take a short break, and when we come back, we continue. Please stay with us.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
I welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. It's time for Trend Watch, and I have with me in the studio Oluwapoido back and said, welcome on board.
Yeah, well done. I mean, that was an exciting conversation from all rounds. You could imagine a country that loses history has lost its essentiality. It has lost what it can refer to as what happened and how to go forward. So I think it's a very interesting conversation that we should keep having on the history of Nigeria.
Definitely.
Yeah, and moving on to Trend Watch right now. The question now, because this is more like a question. Terrorists raised ransom to 250 million naira 20 motorcycles to free 166 abducted worshippers in Kaduna. On how to negotiate with these people.
I want to consider that as a joke from you, because I know sometimes you joke.
Not.
Exactly. But then speaking to these issues, I say this all the time. See, when they explain Nigeria to you and you understand, it simply means you've been here before. You've been on this planet Earth before. This is not your first time. Because, you know, to so many persons, it feels like a YouTube channel. A lot is going on and you cannot really place it. So it's a problem that, you know, there was a price was fixed for these people, and then they had to increase it. Why did they increase it? Is this a business? Okay, it's looking like a business, really, because you understand that when speaking about commodity now, when you want to purchase a commodity and there appears so many persons are asking for the same commodity, you might increase the price. But speaking about these abductees, why did they increase the price to 250 million naira, and they're also asking for bikes? And if you look at the amount, the number of bikes they're asking for, it really cannot suffice for those people that were abducted. That means they're not asking for the bikes for the abductees. They're probably asking for the bikes for themselves. So these are the issues. Will Nigeria government pay this ransom?
Let me come in from the bike angle that you said. It's very important. I think from information that we gathered, or that was gathered by newsmen and reported, when those people were abducted at the time, they said they did not convey them in vehicles. They did not convey them using motorbikes. They were just using motorbikes as a guide to say, okay, you pass it, you pass it. Every other person was walking on foot. But the problem, I think where the first problem came about, was when Muhammad Rabiu, the commissioner of police in Kaduna, said nothing happened. That gave those guys ample time to escape into the deep of the forest, and that was one of the things that should have been sanctioned. In fact, there should be a petition to that effect. Why did you say this? And just barely 24 hours again, the Inspector General of Police came out to say, yes, this happened, and then we have deployed troops. That is so wrong. What happened to the person that gave the wrong information? Because if he had given the right information, maybe those guys would not have gotten far into the deep of the forest. Maybe there will have been military intervention one way or the other. Why did he make that pronouncement without? Okay, so this is the issue. Perhaps he got order from above. That was why he's not being reprimanded now, or being, you know, taken into account to call for questions and all that. That's why he's still roaming free. Mohammed Rabi should be called to question. You can't say that thing without investigating. Even if you have been investigating and you discover this is not true, still find more before you come out to the press to say this did not happen, because you actually affected the lives of those people that were depending on the Nigerian government to come save them. Now, let's talk about rescue. 250 million and 20 bikes. Obviously, you can tell that this is a mess. Like you said, business it is for them. But it is not good for the Nigerian state. It's not even about the money. It's about the effrontery. It's about the continuity of this. If these people ask for 250 million and then motorbikes, what are the next set of people that might cut away with 300 people ask for?
I'm not trying to be pessimistic now. If care is not taken and they don't hear from the Nigerian government, what if they increase this price?
The most likely.
Because I mean, I don't know. I don't want to call them capitalists now, but I'm very sure the likes of Adam Smith and all of them, even in the grave, they will turn like say. So there are people who can really up this thing. I mean, for issues like it's really sad that we're in this situation.
So they're not just talking about give us money. They are saying they want to increase. That means there's been a negotiation on the table. And unfortunately, the Nigerian government has said it, I think recently, that it will not negotiate with terrorists. This is unbecoming. This is not supposed to happen. But let's take a few comments to see what people are saying.
Definitely.
Yes.
The press star is saying, I won't stop saying that our government are always buying into their offer, and it will always make them keep increasing their offer. What are the jobs of a military if the government has to pay this huge ransom for its citizens, since the government is also benefiting? Allegedly. That cannot be proven, but it's really sad that we're in this kind of situation, honestly.
Slow Review says the government will kuku pay. They are paying themselves in the first place. Ikechukwu Ngumezi says, where are our armed forces? This is getting out of hand.
Okay, to conclude on this, I would just say the federal government and, of course, the security apparatus should stop dismissing what later becomes the truth. There are better ways to douse tension rather than just telling the people it did not happen. Honestly, I think it's a fine place to leave it this morning. A big thanks to you for being a part of today's session on Daybreak Live. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakwan. Please be safe and, of course, be intentional about your goals. Bye for now. And I'll say to the government that the lives of 166 people counts and it matters. Of course, my name is Anulu Akwedo. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station, and bye for now.